Are the Oklahoma Sooners actually going to keep Porter Moser after this season? If you were an Oklahoma fan like me watching the LSU game, you became extremely frustrated because this was a game that was marked on the calendar for Oklahoma to win. LSU only had one conference win this season, and the Oklahoma Sooners are quite frankly just better than that. But are they? And is it the lack of Porter Moser being able to get this team prepared week in and week out? Because over countless years, we've seen Porter Moser go out there and fail time and time again when it's getting this team into conference play and getting them to compete at a high level. And ultimately this season, the Oklahoma Sooners have lost games that they should not, and now we are staring down the barrel of another team in the Porter Moser era not making the tournament. This is his fourth year. He has been given the time, and he has just not been able to put it together. However, the big question I think that is on a lot of people's mind is, and what I've seen a lot of floating around is this Joe C's fault? Because a lot of people do not feel the basketball program has been given the resources that they need to be able to go out there and win at a high level and compete. So we're going to kind of discuss that today, and I want to give you like a hot board, right? If Porter Moser's fired, who could Oklahoma go out there and get? Because I'm pissed off at this point. I think a lot of you guys are too. Like, you want a good basketball program. You hear every time Oklahoma's playing on the SEC network or ESPN, you hear all these people talk about how this program's down in the dumps, how this place that Oklahoma plays at sucks, how the Oklahoma fan base sucks for not showing up and supporting their team. And quite frankly, there's some validation to that. There is some validation to that point. But at the same time, Oklahoma fans want to go out there and support this team. They want a good product. But it's hard to go out there and spend hard-earned dollars when you know Oklahoma's not going to be able to compete night in and night out. And every time that they get big-time wins, they're not at home. Hence, Michigan in the Jumpman Classic or Louisville in the tournament. Those aren't games that are played in Norman. So, jump in the comments below. Join the discussion. Let me know your guys' thoughts. If you're new to the channel, wipe your feet. Hit that like. Hit the subscribe button. Listen, we normally stay in the lane for college football. We talk recruiting for OU. But I think this is necessary at this point in time. Because, again, a lot of people want to know if we're going to be keeping Porter Moser. And, quite frankly, I think the answer is no. I think after this season, Joe C has to move on. I feel like the donors at this point want Joe C to move on. And quite frankly, I felt like if he would have moved on right after the game last night, it probably wouldn't have been a bad thing. Probably wouldn't have been a bad thing to go ahead and get a head start, let somebody else take over for the rest of the season, see if you can get some renewed energy. And the reason why I say that is because we've seen crazier shit happen in the NCAA tournament. Am I wrong? Last year, you saw an NC State team who not anybody thought they were going to make the tournament, go out there, win the ACC, snub Oklahoma from getting in the tournament, and make a deep run. It's not out of the realm of possibility for Oklahoma to go out there, win two unexpected games, maybe win a game in the SEC tournament, and then all of a sudden the committee goes, yeah, you know what, let's give Oklahoma the benefit of the doubt because they had a good out-of-conference, outing. And let's see what they can do. And then Oklahoma makes a, round of 64 and round of 32 win, getting to the Sweet 16 and losing. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, it's very, very, very unlikely. But if you fire Porter Moser, who does Oklahoma go out there and get? Because we thought Porter Moser was the home run hire, and he just hasn't been the home run hire. I mean, don't get me wrong. Joe C went out there and made the best hire possible. That was the hire that you and I wanted, was Porter Moser. So who do you go after this time? Do you go after another home run hire like that? Or do you try to go after somebody from a mid-major school, maybe not as big of a name, but somebody that's proven they can win and develop talent? And I think there's a couple ways to look at this. And obviously, I think everybody's first choice is going to be looking at Kelvin Sampson once again. Currently out there at Houston, potentially could hand it off to his assistant, the younger Sampson, out of Houston, and come back to Oklahoma, maybe revitalize things here. You know he could be a good recruiter. You know he could be a good developer of talent. Again, the question for any of this comes back down to, will the donors give any coach that you hire after Porter Moser, or if they decide to keep Porter Moser, heaven forbid, the resources to go out there and compete? Shout out to Sooner Scoop for putting this out. I think it was George talking about it the other day. Oklahoma's only spending about $2.53 million on the roster. The average in the SEC is $4.5 million. So we're under the average of what teams are spending. However, you don't have to spend a ton of money to be competitive. There are plenty of teams out there that are not spending that kind of money that are going to make the tournament, probably make runs. It is possible. But obviously, Kelvin Sampson's got to be the number one, and it's a guy you have to call. Regardless whether you know the answer is going to be no, you have to say, I made that call, and I made him tell me no. The second one, after Kelvin Sampson, you have to make the call to Will Wade. I don't give a crap whether you agree with his antics that he had at LSU, whether or not you think he's a good person. Will Wade is a good coach. And whatever you believe about the notions that he had during that NCAA investigation on the alleged recruiting violations, doesn't matter anymore. All of that's legal. Will Wade can coach basketball. You want that guy. A lot of programs are going to want that guy to be their head coach. And he's done it in the SEC. One of the other guys that I thought potentially could do it if he was available, but he's not, is Billy Donovan, right? If Billy Donovan was not coaching right now, that would be a guy that I would have tried to go out there and hire. You're not going to pull him away from the Chicago Bulls. But, again, done it at a high level in the SEC. That's what Will Wade is. And right now, at McNeese State, he has them at 20-6. So we obviously know he can do this. He can do this thing. And he's got McNeese State being a really good basketball team. So I would say Will Wade's got to be your second. Now, I was talking to Topher B about this last night, and we were kind of going through potential candidates. Somebody I really haven't heard that intrigued me a little bit was Brian Hodgson. Now, for those who are not familiar with Brian Hodgson, you really might not be familiar with him. Here's his coaching tree. 2007, 2010 for Dojana State. He was an assistant from 2010 to 2013. He was at Jamestown Community College, an assistant there. From 2013 to 2015, he was at Midland. He was an assistant. 2015 to 2019, he was at Buffalo. Those Buffalo teams were pretty decent. An assistant there. 2019 to 2013, he was at the University of Alabama. He helped recruit a lot of those guys out there. And those were some good Alabama teams. Now he's at Arkansas State as the head coach. And right now he's got that squad 19-8, probably going into the tournament. And by the way, played number 2 Alabama at Alabama, 88-79 in a loss. That's pretty damn good. I want that guy. He's coached in the SEC. He knows what it takes. This guy could do it. He can recruit. Now, I don't think recruiting is necessarily, it's an issue, but I don't think it could be an issue based on who you get in here. But I think Brian Hodgson could be a big name. You're going to have to pay up. You're going to have to pony up here. It's kind of like what you did for Porter Moser. You're going to have to pay a buyout for him, and you're going to have to get him here with some big dollars. I think it can be done. The last name, though, I think you call. Because I do think you could get Brian Hodgson if you give him a call. And this might or might not be an unpopular take here. I think you got to call Rick Pitino, who's currently, right now, coaching at St. John's. Now, I know there's been a lot of history with Rick Pitino, especially with his time at Louisville. But he's got the St. John's team performing really well after a really bad season. And Rick Pitino would be a flashy hire. I don't know if it works, but it would be flashy. It gets people in the seats at Lloyd Noble, at least for a season. And it potentially could get players to want to come here too. And the dude's been a champion, right? He was a 5-time SEC tournament champion, 2-time SEC regular season champions. He was a 2-time Conference USA tournament champion. Obviously did a lot in the SEC. He was a tournament champion in 1996 and 2013. He was regional champions, Final Four in 87, 93, 96, 97, 2005, 2002, and 2013. He knows how to win. He's got the awards. I would be interested to see, would you make the phone call? And I think you have to. If you're at Oklahoma, you're 16-9. You have multiple seasons been 1 or 2 wins away from getting into the tournament. You need somebody that is an elite coach that can come in here, develop players, because I don't think you're going to go out there and just land superstar talent right away. You have got to prove to these kids that Oklahoma can start working its way back into the map, and that is just getting a coach that can get you into the tournament. And it's not that Porter Moser can't get into the tournament. We've obviously seen him do it at Loyola Chicago. But his teams are collapsing. It's just facts. These teams that he has, he cannot get them to win. He cannot get them over the hump. So your first step is to get a coach in here, pay them, and get them. I believe you got a Brian Hodgson, a Rick Pitino, a Will Wade in here with the talent you have now, you're a tournament team this year. Probably at least getting to the round of 32, maybe getting to the Sweet 16. The problem is Porter Moser just hasn't been able to get these guys ready. And quite frankly, next year, you're not going to have Jeremiah Fierce. He's going to the NBA. And then you look at some of the other guys on this roster. You would obviously like to keep some of them. But you need to go out there. You need to recruit a big man, which Porter has yet to be able to do. You can say that's because of resources, but if you get some new blood in here, you get a new coach, a coach that's been successful at this level, you might be able to convince kids to want to come, help Oklahoma potentially get this thing back on the track and get butts in the seats. I think that's really what it is. Just get butts in the seats. So I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. Who do you think could be the next OU men's basketball coach? If you guys have not already and you guys have made it this far, make sure you guys hit that like and you hit that subscribe button.